Today's chapter is absolutely one of my favorites, and Mo was originally going to be here. However, she had surgery on Monday, and so after this week was kind of interesting, and we shuffled some things. We've got Ashley Lunn coming in for Love Your Neighbor. We've got Grace Schiffman for Love Your Country. Our regional director, Sherry Lewis, is coming in, who is a longtime BFF of Mo's, and she's coming in for Build Relationships for Life. So we've got some really exciting things to finish strong, and this week is just a little funky. So I've got a request out for Friday, and we may have a super awesome special guest, or it just may be me. So Heather will post when we know on that, and forgive me for shifting so much this week. So chapter 13, fill their buckets. This is absolutely one of my favorites, and I want to share a story. And I know Stephanie's going to have some stories too about how Mo practices what she preaches with this. So I got to go to Mo's house. I won a KW Cares. It wasn't really an auction. It was kind of there was a fundraiser for a couple in our office, and I donated a certain amount, and I showed Mo the check, and I said, hey, if I donate this, can I have coffee with you? And she said, yes, get with Kelly and get it set up. So I donated, and I don't know what is wrong with me, and things always happen in perfect timing. For a year, I did not contact and follow up. And I had this appointment with her, and so I'm in Norman, Oklahoma. So there's Norman here, and then here's the metro, and then Mo's house is up here. And so we're only like 45 minutes away. I can be at her doorstep in 45 minutes. So I finally contacted Kelly. We had the date set. And what I was thinking was, well, I'm going to maybe get to have coffee with her. I'm going to meet her somewhere. And I was thinking, you know, a little 30-minute session or something. Well, she blocked off an entire afternoon for me, and I got to go to her house. And I was so nervous, you guys. I got there 20 minutes early, and I was down the street putting on my makeup. And James Hearn is a friend of mine and also a friend of Mo's. And I was like, what do I wear? He's like, well, I know that I would dress to the nines, but don't be weird about it. Just, you know, dress up and look nice. I'm like, okay. So I was dressed up, and I was finishing my makeup, and I'm like stalking her down her street. And there was some landscapers out, and I felt like someone's gonna call the cops on me. Anyway, I got there, I pulled in right on time, and I knocked on the door about 2 minutes early, and she opened the door herself. She wasn't wearing any makeup. She had her hair fixed, and she was wearing a cardigan and some leggings, and it was just me and Mo. And immediately I just felt so special, because there were no appearances, there were no hoops, no formalities. She was personally making me a cup of coffee. I'm just like, I just felt at home in her home. And so this was amazing to me. We spent 3 hours together. And the first hour, she asked me all about my family, my kids, my life, my heart, and just really dove in. And then we talked about my team, my business, all that kind of stuff. And it was just fantastic. And the only reason that we ended things when we did is she had to jump on a call with Gary. So I walked away and drove home just processing everything. And I knew that the intent with her questions and the care and concern that she showed, I was absolutely floored, and I felt like my bucket was full. And I also thought, this is kind of my joke about it, because if you think about Mo Anderson's net income per hour, I had 3 hours of her time. I don't even know what that would be if she sent me an invoice for that time. And I'm thinking, man, I wonder how much she just gave me by spending that kind of time with me. So I get home, and a couple of days later, Heather calls me from the office, and she says, Missy, you've got a bouquet of flowers here. I was like, what? And so she sent me a picture, and when I went to pick them up, it was this thing, maybe what, Heather, 2 feet tall? Yeah, Stephanie's going, it was like huge. It was huge, and it was this Christmassy bouquet, because we did this in December. It was this huge Christmassy bouquet with a card, and it just said, thank you for the conversation. What? Well, you should have given me an invoice. I felt so dazzled and wowed and cared about. And it was so cool. And as I think about filling their bucket and the way Mo treated me, she just totally practices what she preaches. It's my favorite Mo story. And what I wanted was to post a picture, and I kept it private for, sometimes, there's something so precious, you just keep it private and close to you. And so anyway, I still have the little card hanging on my cork board in my office. Words of affirmation is my love language, so I keep that. So anyway, Stephanie, what's a time Mo dazzled you? And then I want to hear from some of you, and I want to talk about filling buckets.
I moved to Oklahoma 4 years ago, and I was a team leader in New Mexico for 5 years. And, Mo is like Mo, right? And I got here, and I think I'd been here for like a hot minute, maybe a week or two, maybe it was a month. And they were doing a young professional, the YP group was doing an event at her home. And, it's under 40. And but one of our agents was the president of the chapter here. And she says, are you going to come to Mo's house? Well, I was like, what? Go to Mo's. And so I wasn't going to miss it. So my entire drive, my 40-minute drive up to her house, I'm calling everybody that I know in New Mexico. You'll never believe where I'm going. You're never going to believe where I'm going. And I got there, and Mo just, every time, I don't care how many people are in the room, she will make you feel like you're the only one. The only one. And, she, when she's with you, she is totally present. I had a recruit go with us to another event. Mo came down here and taught, and there's like a line waiting to shake her hand and hug her and all this. And when the next person's in line, she is totally engaged with the person she's in front of, but she reaches over and she grabs the hand or the arm of the next person and just kind of pats them like, I know you're here, but I'm present here, but just hold on, you're next. And she does that every time. And talk about filling that bucket. But personally, that was my first time to Mo's home. And I am so, I can't tell you the way I feel every time I get the opportunity to go visit her again and again and again. And I'll never forget, a few years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, I called her and asked if I could bring the ALC to lunch at her. She said to me, bring your ALC up sometime. So I took her up on it. So we all met up there, and Mo answers the door, and this is what she says: Steph, go show them all around the house. Come on in, Stephanie, you just go show them around. And I'm like, I've arrived. I know how to show Mo's house. I know how to walk them upstairs into the different rooms, into the fountain room, into the movie theater. Yeah, I know my way around Mo's home. But she always makes me feel like I am special. And I think about that, and sometimes we look at that as someone that is so far up on that pedestal, like that icon. But I always think about, what if I were to do that? And I'm not an icon, but what if I just poured into everybody I meet like she does? I mean, to make everybody feel that way that comes into your presence, like you matter. I'm listening and you matter. I don't know. Good lesson. That's all I got.
Well, and it makes me think about too, do you guys ever do that thing? Like, we're just busy, right? Life in general, especially in real estate, we're just busy. And there are so many times people do kind things or say kind things. And I think to myself, I should send him a card. I should write him a note. I should send him this or that. And I just never get around to it. What would it be like if I actually acted on every single one of those thoughts for even a month? You guys would have all gotten a card. So let's talk. Another small group. I love it. When was the time that somebody filled your bucket? I want to hear about it.
Hey, Missy,
Yes.
something like you just said, and this still like has changed my life. Diane Griffin, who's pretty big, and she's in Michigan, and she's OP, right, of or original owner of London KW, and then here in Michigan, and she's on the, correct me if I'm wrong, Missy, on the board at Keller Williams International, I think.
I think she is. She also owns Belize.
Right.
People can
Exactly. Like
I know.
exactly. So anyway, I live in Michigan, but Grand Rapids, where she is about 2.5 hours northwest of me. So it's really not like we run into each other. But it took going to family reunion 2 years ago, and every family reunion I make a list of one or two of the upper mesh, of like 1 year was Mo Anderson, 1 year was Diane Kokoska, 1 year was Abe Shreve. Well, that year was Diane Griffin, and I was like, gosh, we live in the same state, but I haven't seen her. So I did the same as you. I actually put out a text, I would love to buy you a drink, and I just have a half an hour of your time. I know you're busy at family reunion. And she's like, sure. And I didn't really expect her to say yes. That 30 minutes turned into an hour and a half of 2 drinks. And I know she likes a good bourbon on the rocks. What she shared with me, and like you said, she made me feel like the only one in that bar. She didn't even talk to anybody else, and her words of wisdom that she gave me, as far as what I was asking her, we were talking about, how do I get to that next level and be the lady, be the leader, be the woman, the mother that I know I can be. I'll never forget it. I get chills thinking about it, and it's an amazing feeling when they make you feel totally part of their world. They're not here, there's no difference. And it has really changed my whole life and gave me the confidence that, I've got the same abilities that they do, just how am I applying them?
I love that. Do you guys call them celebrities?
What do you call it?
Celebrities? So good.
Oh, I got it. See, that took a little while.
Like
Have
Keller
you not heard that one before?
Williams,
The
celebrity. Yeah.
Well, one thing I like to think about, and it's kind of scary to talk about with Heather being right here, I think about different ways I can fill her bucket all the time. I know that her big why, she came from a job where she wasn't empowered and recognized for her abilities, and she's amazing. She's our director of ops, and growth and opportunity is a big motivator for her. So I work hard to do that, but I also work hard and definitely not as hard as I should to do other little things. I said we did the DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever, and I tried to do it a second time. And I just sent her some money on Google anyway for dinner because it didn't work, but that's a different thing. But I think about people in my world, how do I consistently show up for them? How do I fill their buckets? What's important to them? What do you guys do?
So one of the things that I do, so I have 3 kids, and I have one who is a little bit more emotional than the other 2. She's my oldest, London, and she tends to get just really into herself sometimes, and you have to focus on filling her bucket or she'll just really get down. And so like doing little things, like she usually cleans her room, but one day she's at school and I'll clean her room for her, and she'll come and be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Mom. Like, you did that for me and I didn't have to do it. It's little things like that. And they don't have to be very big. I do that for all the kids, very small things, and they will, I don't know, they'll cherish those little things. I did want to share one thing. I haven't been in the real estate world, like barely at all, like very minuscule. This is my first actual real estate kind of thing, doing this Zoom meeting. So one of the meetings that we had was with Mo, and she was talking with me because I had a question about, how do you balance life with a farm and kids and all of that? And the time that she spent just answering that one question for me was such a blessing. I went and shared that video with like all of my family and friends. I was like, watch from this point to this point because she was great. I couldn't help it, but she made me feel welcomed, and I felt so connected with her, and I felt like this is exactly where I need to be. And just that little short time with her, I mean, it was just amazing, and I had to share it. I had to share it with others. She filled my bucket, and I haven't even met her yet. So I don't know, it was great. Oh, and a tip for Missy, if you want to send out cards, I got this tip from my grandma. She actually has a planner, and when she's randomly in the card section at like Target or Walmart, she'll just grab cards randomly. She paper clips them into her monthly planner. Like she just paper clips randomly, and then she'll just send them out. And they're like thank you cards or blank cards or birthday cards or whatever, but she plans them out throughout the year just randomly. So there's a little tip for you. I kind of do that sometimes, but yeah, that's my suggestion, I guess.
Yeah. I love that tip. There's nothing quite like a handwritten note.
Yes.
And I keep thinking, well, I can outsource this and get Heather to do it, and it's just not the same. It's not the same for her. Like, Wendy, what if you got a card and you knew my handwriting and it actually wasn't for me? And like, oh, you mean the world to me. And you're like, really, Missy? I do? You couldn't write your own card? I'll get there.
You know, those cards, speaking of cards, I get up like really stupid early in the morning, and I have this whole regiment that I do, and I like to read, I like to listen to like meditation stuff and all this, and I have note cards that are just I have them made just as Stephanie Chapman, and they're blank, and lately I haven't been doing it as well, but for years historically I would write 5 notes a day to somebody, whether it's somebody that work related, personal, family, friends, something, and it just got to be habitual. I mean, they're sitting there on my little table next to my couch. That's my table. Nobody messes with my stuff there because that's my note cards and everything else. And because there's something very special when I get notes. It touches me so deeply that someone took this time not only to write something versus send a text or email. They put a stamp on it, and they walked it to their mailbox or walked it to the front desk to put it in the mail drop, you know, whatever. And and I'm like, it makes me feel so special. I hope it makes them feel that way, because they are. So. But if I don't do it first thing in the morning before I even get in the shower, it's not going to happen. For me, it won't happen. Now, some people probably could do it at night if that's their better time. But anyway, I'm one of those.
I'm one of those that keeps a box of cards here. And how many have you ever gotten from me, Stephanie?
Have I ever? You've got
Probably
no.
never.
No, okay. I was going to try to save you on this live
Don't
video.
save me. It's okay.
Nope, not on. How many have you gotten from me?
Oh, 20, 15, 20, easily.
Yeah.
Yep. And I have hanging over here, I know you can't see it. Here, I'll show you guys my wall real quick. Can you see? No, I can't turn my computer enough. Stephanie wrote a letter of recommendation for me for something, and it was so deeply touching that I printed it out and I have it hanging over there.
Oh.
And when I from me day, I go read it.
There you go.
I do.
I have a drawer full of cards that people send me in here, you know, and that works. When you're having a day and you're thinking that you're not good enough, you don't know enough, you're failing, or whatever it might be, life is just not where you're feeling a lot of joy, just jump in the drawer. That's what I do, jump in the drawer and I find one. Oh, they love me. They like me. They tell me I'm okay. I'm a pretty good team leader.
You are.
Well, sometimes you just need. And you know, I was on the phone today with Sherry Lewis for quite some time on various things. And I said, there's something about getting back in front of people and the energy that brings. That's the same thing with those cards. It gives that energy, especially in a time when we haven't been able to connect face to face, which I thrive on that stuff. So,
Yeah, Stephanie's about as high I as it gets.
yeah, lucky you.
I love it. I love it.
And you, Heather, I saw that face.
Heather's a DC. She's not very I at all.
As I sit here at home, still working from home while everyone else is at the office.
Wendy?
I was going to say two things. One, even better than a handwritten card, I got a really adorable little handmade Christmas ornament from Missy last year. And I like hung it on like its own little thing instead of my tree so that I could see it every day, because it was, it's like little things that are, he's like, oh, I sent you the silliest little thing. I'm like, yeah, but something like that's like handmade, personal, like it was so special.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is what our office has been doing with COVID is our ALC has been doing care calls to all the agents in our office. So, like the leadership was doing them, but then they decided it might be nice to have agents calling each other. So I've been randomly getting my list and just making hello calls, how you doing? And people are so amazingly touched by that. And I think especially early on when people felt very isolated and alone and disconnected from the office and from work, those calls were so appreciated. I was taking a lot of time to reach out to my clients and make their calls, but reaching out to a lot of people in my office who I've never even talked to or met before. And like, I got so many thank yous, text messages and emails back, like, wow, you really made my day. And it's like, you don't even realize how much a little thing can make such a big difference in someone else's life.
Yeah. And I wonder about, now I have a story I'm going to share. Steve, do you remember, was her name Miss Bonnie on our old street? I think it was Miss Bonnie. So you know how sometimes you have that feeling that you should talk to someone and you don't? So I remember one night I was running, it was a few years back. I was running and I'm very achievement, like I'm going to hit my goal and I'm focused and I don't like to be distracted or sidetracked unless I'm lead generating, then please distract me because that's more fun. So I'm running one night and there's this woman, her name is Bonnie. She lives at a house at the end of the street. And I knew that her health was declining. I knew that things, going downhill a little bit. I had seen her out trying to do some gardening and I just had this feeling, this nagging, Missy, you should just stop and knock on the door. And I didn't. I kept running. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to go check on her tomorrow, or I can just knock on the door tomorrow, or I'll see her outside in the garden. I'll be walking my kids. And a couple of days later, I was walking again. And I was reminded of that feeling because there were a couple other cars there. And I saw some of her kids there, and one was hugging another, talking about how much they missed their mom. And I didn't listen to that feeling, the, hey, knock on the door. And I have no idea what would have happened. I don't know if she was alive, if she wasn't. I don't know what if she was struggling in that minute and she needed me and I didn't listen to that. I feel like, the Spirit really gives us those, I call them nudges, and I ignored it. And how many times, Wendy, like you said, where people say, wow, you just made my day. When you act on those things, you just don't know what's on the other side and how much that person might need it right then. I posted something about a dog yesterday, and Judy Goodman, also a golden retriever lover, she actually picked up the phone and called me. And what's interesting is I was having a really tough moment, not even about the dog. It was about something totally different. And she called me and it was perfect timing and she never could have known. And it just totally changed my day because she acted on that. So what other thoughts and takeaways do you guys have? We have a couple more minutes. Kathleen? Then I'll come to you, Christine.
Okay. Even when we're having Zoom meetings, our Market Center always starts our team meetings with a fill the bucket section, because a lot of times you take for granted the person at the front desk, the director of first impressions, or your MCA, who a lot of times is working millions of hours trying to get, especially during transmittal, and you're like, okay, like, no, go away, ask someone else. But they'll stop and knowing that they're going to get themselves behind and have to stay there. So I always try to recognize and make sure that people know how hard these people work for us, always. And I mean, we have a great Market Center. Everybody's just jumps in to help everybody constantly. And it's just it's one of the reasons why with KW, my former place I was with, that would have never happened. So, but
I feel
I
the
think
same
filling the
way.
bucket is super important. And you never know, just the kindest word is going to make someone's day.
I agree. What's interesting is, you know, we talked a little bit last time about how I feel that I'm unrecruitable. And
Yes.
it's not just because of Keller Williams. It's about Stephanie and the way she personally fills my bucket. I'm not leaving that. There's no way. I walk in almost every day like, okay, here it is. Take care of me. So, Kathleen, you had something? Hold on. You're muted. There you go.
My question, we were talking about cards, and I do, like all of you, those handwritten cards are incredible. And what changed my mindset about that, when I had breast cancer in 2004, there was one lady that worked with my husband, and her kids went to school with my kids, but we weren't good friends, but we were acquaintances, right? She sent me a handwritten card every single day for 3 months. Every single day. And it was maybe just a little note card, and I kept them all. And we've become much closer friends, but that is stuck in my head. And some of the cards were just 2 sentences. And I asked her why she did that. And she said, I didn't know what to do for you. And I felt so bad for you, but she didn't just know what to do. And I told her that those cards meant more than any gifts, it was just amazing. So that's stuck in my head and my heart. So I try and pay it forward. And my other thought is, what do you all think about the send out cards? Because I know some people use those send out cards that you get the printed picture and all that. And I'm at this point debating, do I sign up for that or just keep doing my handwritten cards? And I used to do 5 a day as well, and I'm getting back to it. I just made a note. What are your thoughts on that?
Kathleen, personally, I'll let other people answer real quick. I'll tell you, personally, I was very much, I'm going to cut expenses. I'm never going to do that. I have a box of cards right here that I use so often. Like, seriously, y'all, it's so old that the plastic is cracked. Like, that's how. And I got this when I adopted the dog I just posted about. It was from Stephanie Wardwell. You guys know Stephanie.
Yep.
And she took the picture, and we learned about this in Bold.
Right.
She saw the picture that I posted. She sent it to me with a little note about how excited she was about this adoption, her stuff on the back.
Yes.
And it is one of my favorite things. And especially now that Sadie's gone,
Right.
it means so much to me. And we just had a client adopt a dog. They bought a house during the pandemic, just bought a dog, a Great Dane, I think?
Mm-hmm.
No, a giant schnauzer. And Heather just last week signed us up for send out cards because I wanted to do the same thing and welcome the dog to our web group family. So
I think there's a good balance between something like that and your handwritten cards. Do them both. And you don't have to sign up for send out cards. You don't have to sign up for a monthly subscription for that. You can pay as you go. So figure out if you're going to use it a lot, then decide if you want to do that $18 a month or whatever, but you can just send out one card. And I think it was $5.50 or something like that. Not much more than a regular greeting card costs anymore. So,
And then Anna Randa did that too for me. When my father died, and we had my family reunion, and I took it very hard when my father passed. And then she did a bunch of pictures. So she went a step further and really capitalized on what I was saying on Facebook, and that showed me she took effort. But I just didn't know, which is better do or not do. And I like the answer that you all said.
Oh, yeah. I think just the simplest, I mean, if you think back, like if you're going through memories or you're going through boxes when you move, I mean, we've been here almost a year and we still have boxes everywhere. But as I'm going through things, the things that I pull out are the cards, the handwritten notes from my grandmother who's not here anymore, and a birthday card that's got my grandfather's signature on it that he's not here anymore. It's like, it's those things that you hold on to way more than, I mean, flowers are great and a card lasts forever. Flowers don't do that. So I think simple fill your bucket things like cards are just, they're so easy and so quick and so cheap to do, and they mean so much.
And it's always better getting a card in the mail than a bill.
Yes. Yeah.
The worst is when the bill people put their bill in a greeting card envelope. Like, I am on to you.
That's rude.
Christine, we
use a card service as well, but ours is called AM Cards.
We've used them too.
Which is wonderful. My husband does all of that for us. He has in command where it says to send, do stuff like that. I mean, he sends out their 1-year anniversary from buying their house. He sends out birthday cards, anniversary cards, hi, just thinking of you cards. When, if they've posted something, an event or something that happened on Facebook in their life, he'll send them a card saying, congratulations on this, hope everything's going well, just things like that. We found it very effective. We just send personal notes as well, but he found that program to be really, for him, user-friendly. So.
Beautiful. Well, speaking of filling buckets, I posted my home address on the group. And so if you want to send a card to Mo and fill her bucket while she's recovering, I will cross mine out and forward to her, or I'll just drive them up there and drop them on her porch in a little basket of some things. I'll figure it out. But if you want to go ahead and send a card, I will make sure, or send whatever you want, I will make sure she gets it. So, all right, guys, Friday. I'll see you Friday.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, guys.